Transnet is currently giving an update on the company's recovery plan following industrial action.
Our operations in understanding and appreciating that a number of our customers would be quite anxious to have their trains to start to move ahead of everybody else. So what we did, and this is something that was shared with the customers as well, is that we shared the principles that we would apply to ensure that there was fairness and transparency in starting to move the trains again. The first thing that we needed to deal with in the first hour was just to ensure the safety of operations, and that entailed, line inspections. So what we do in that respect is that we run what we call trolleys along the whole network, just to make sure that there isn't anything that could cause harm to the movement of the train or anything of that sort. So all of that needed to be cleared. And as you can well imagine, that after taking a strike, there are portions of our network where there was a little bit more work that we needed to undertake prior to the safe running of trains. The second bit was the inspections of what we call our rolling stock, which is both our locomotives and our wagons, because they had actually been standing for a number of days, and there was a requirement that we inspect them and ensure that they are ready once again, for operation. Lastly, but most importantly, which is not reflected in this slide, is that when we talk about safety, we equally needed to make sure that even our people as well were safe, to operate the trains. They were ready, for operations. Especially because they had been away from work for a couple of days. There are normal checks that we run whenever employees come into the operating environment, but we just upped the work that we needed to do in preparing for safe operations once again. Now, post the first couple of hours of our recovery plan, we then had to start to unblock the network. And what I mean by that is that when the strike started, essentially what happened is that there were certain trains that ended up being left on the line, en route to their destination, which meant that we needed to clear those trains before we could go back into normal operations, because they were effectively blocking, at the line. And just to give you a sense of what we're talking about is that we had a total of 257 trains that were actually stuck online that we needed to clear. We call these staged locomotives in various parts of our network. So that's what was the key issue that we also need to focus on. And then second to that, we had to start to move some of our maintenance trains, or the trains that were carrying maintenance material, because a large part of what we also needed to deal with was the repair of the various parts of our network where a significant amount of cable was stolen. And I think later on you will hear from one of the managing executives who's still challenged even now in trying to finalize the clearing of all of the cable and everything else that was stolen during that period. And then, of course, priority was given to the trains that were carrying hazardous material, and also some of the fruit and so forth, which we thought had the potential to spoil. And then we followed through with trains that were chasing vessels where vessels were already at port. We prioritized those as well. And then fifth, in terms of that category of prioritization, was also trains that were carrying material that had the potential to close down a plant. So I think that you would be aware as media that there were some ammonia trains that were stuck or staged during the strike, and we ensured that we provided priority to some of those trains as well. Once all that was cleared, then it really once again was to try and get us now into the performance catch up in terms of starting to return to what we call the normal integrated train plan, which is effectively where we believe that at that point we're operating trains as per normal and applying the rules that we would normally apply in prioritization of trains. What I am happy, to report is that we did achieve, or at least clear or deal with the first bit, which is the safety bit, relatively quickly. And all of that was completed in the first few hours. In terms of the second block that we've indicated there, which is the unblocking of the network, as indicated, we had the 257 stage trains, and as of this morning, 234 of those have been cleared. Unfortunately, we still have 23 trains that remain staged. And this is as a result of the cable and everything else that was stolen, in particular in the container corridor. But I'm pretty sure Rutsane will then speak to that. Most corridors have now returned to normal operations, and the volume performance on Sunday was over 100% for corridors such as the North Corridor and the O Corridor, and we're beginning to see pickup as well from the other corridors as well. The North Corridor was still hampered by a derailment that occurred in an area called Phokeng, which we only managed to clear on Sunday night, but that one has now been cleared. So as of now, the trains are also now beginning to move pretty well. On the Northeast Corridor, we had, the advantage of being able to move the trains through to Maputo as well, because it's the one corridor that operates to two ports. It operates to the Maputo port and also to Richards Bay. So even during the strike, there was still some movement into the Maputo port, but they are now fully operational as well, now that everything is back on track. As indicated, the one area of concern is the container corridor, where we did experience an abnormally high level of theft incidents during this period, and they've been continuously repeating. So we are able to move trains up to a particular level, and it's a stop-go type of operation at this stage, because once we've cleared the cables, what we find is that further on there would be another incident of theft of cable, which really has seriously hampered the movement of trains on the container corridor. That provides just an overview of all of the corridors and where we are, but we thought in addition to that, what we would do is to go into some of the specifics within each of the corridors, in terms of what has actually been moved and how each of those corridors is currently performing as we speak. And I believe the first corridor that we will be going through would be the Cape corridor. So the Cape corridor and the O corridor were ones that were able to restart operations relatively quickly. And anything that might be a challenge, right now, is really a challenge as a result of normal incidents such as weather and everything else that they're experiencing at this point in time. But I will stop there, and Nkosi will go through each of the corridors, including some of the entities around the table. Thanks.
Thank you, Sizakele. As she has indicated, we really have worked very well with our customers in partnering in our efforts to clear the system, and one has to really extend a word of gratitude to the various industries that have kept us honest and under pressure as we continue to clear the systems. Starting off with the Cape corridor, as Cesar has indicated, much as we had overarching principles that assist us in determining where do we start in clearing the corridors, you find that the dynamics would be different across the various corridors. Starting off with the Cape corridor, Within the first hour of the strike being lifted, which was Wednesday evening, the team went immediately in full mode in trying to get the line back in operation, especially with regards to the safety aspects of it. All the line inspections and trolleys were cleared within 12 hours. Rolling stock inspections were cleared within 2 hours, and train preparations for all the trains that were staged in the Cape Corridor were concluded within a space of 2 hours as well, meaning that within 16 hours of the strike being lifted in the Cape Corridor, we're already in the move. We're able to start clearing trains as and when the opportunity presented itself. Particularly as we cleared the trains, following the principles that Caesar has shared with us across the room, our primary focus was the trains that are blocking the system. We had 48 in our Cape Corridor, and all of them have been cleared as we speak now. The only trains that we have in the system right now in relation to the Cape Corridor are our daily expected number of trains that we operate on a daily basis, which is sitting at 26 trains as we speak now. The 48 that were blocking the system were all cleared. Then material that was needed, especially to do work on the ore corridor, as we would have announced, we have a shut coming up in the ore corridor and needed material then to move. Those trains are in queue and are moving. We have 1 train already that is en route out of that, and 5 remain being planned in the system to continue. Hazardous materials and trains that carry cargo that is perishable, especially in the Cape Corridor, you know that a majority of our volumes in the fresh produce space, quite a sizable portion moves via our Cape Town terminals. We had 4 trains in the system in the Cape Corridor. All of them have been moved successfully and are therefore no longer an issue or challenge on our end. And then lastly, we were chasing after trains that may impact other operations such as mining, and we had 2 trains in the Cape Corridor, and all of them have been successfully moved as well. So we can safely say within a space of 48 hours of the strike in the Cape Corridor, we had cleared everything, and we are therefore moving on to stabilizing the system. In terms of our performance catch-up, we continue to put pressure on the rest of the trains that are meant for maintenance. We continue to focus on trains that are going for critical production lines, such as explosives that are needed in the mining industry. We needed ammonia for that, and it's by and large being moved quite efficiently. Moving on to the central corridor, as indicated, the dynamics may be different across the various corridors. Again, in terms of safety, we've ticked all boxes. All trolleys have been concluded. Rolling stock inspections have been concluded. Train preparations have been successfully executed as well. And therefore, we are again in the central corridor in gear to get the trains moving. Unblocking the system, we had 39 trains that were staged across the network in the central corridor. All of them have been cleared. The one big challenge that we remain faced with as a business is cable theft and vandalism, as Caesar has indicated. You find that this moves around the country quite a bit, and at this stage there's a lot of focus on the central corridor with regards to that. And then our performance, of course, at some stage we're sitting at 50% of our ITP. The intention is, as the week progresses, to improve that quite drastically. Our ore corridor, the same. In terms of safety, all boxes have been ticked. And then in terms of unblocking the network, we are running a fluid system as we speak now in the ore corridor. We have 6 trains in the system, which is also by design what you should expect on a daily basis. With regards to recoveries, we are moving quite aggressively maintenance trains as well, just to ensure that the system is maintained as per the needs. We are running at 95% with our ore corridor, and I think as the week progresses, we are nearing that 100%, and we should be sitting at that point. North corridor, which runs mostly our coal volumes. Again, in terms of safety, we've cleared all the trains that would pose safety risks. We've cleared all challenges in relation to the network. There are two particular areas that one maybe needs to focus on with regards to the North Corridor. We had two derailments in the period of the strike, one in Dumbe and one in Phokeng. Both have been cleared successfully, and the work that is needed in maintaining the line, specifically in those areas, has been executed, and therefore we have a fluid system as well there. With regards to our general freight business trains, we have one that is currently in the system, but that one train started moving as of this morning as well, and therefore by end of today we should have cleared the entire system. Catch-up is well on track, and the system is fully restored as of yesterday, and we are running a fluid system in our North Corridor as well. I'm going to sum the rest up quite quickly in the interest of time. Northeast Corridor, in terms of safety, we've ticked all boxes. In terms of unblocking the network, the Northeast Corridor was impacted by the derailments as well, particularly the Dumbe one. That was cleared immediately as the strike was lifted on Wednesday. By Thursday morning, the Dumbe derailment had been cleared and the system was restored. We run at 90% at this stage with the intention of getting the system back to 100% as the week progresses. With that said, I'd like to pause there and hand over to my colleague Ruzani, who will talk us specifically through the container corridor in terms of recovery and other activities that are taking place within the corridor. Thank you.